ICE is an abbreviation for in-game camera editor that Need for Speed used. It's available in the official PlayStation Magazine demo of the game. In short, this is a tool that can be used to direct and view cutscenes in-game in real time. This editor alone isn't enough to create full non-interactive scenes for the game. However, what it can do is generate necessary camera data. Car recording is done by a separate piece of code and not by ICE itself directly. Additional support tools are needed to produce necessary chunks that the game will be able to read. This is usually done by a tool that reads the speed script files produced by ICE and creates a camera set chunk. For a more detailed rundown, there's this video where the art director Habib Zargarpour explains the tool and how it worked.
So when I joined EA in 2003, I saw I wanted to do real-time camera work. And so we built this tool called ICE in-game camera editor, and it was used for all the Need for Speed cutscenes as well as James Bond and Skate later. And the Skate one would let the audience actually edit what they've done. But this is kind of the beginnings, the very beginnings of all the the virtual tools that we built for DMM. It's basically all controller based. So here's the timeline at the bottom. You can scrub your time. What I did there was I performed a drive with the car, hit a button, and then I'm editing a scene to it. So you can make a car commercial in 10 minutes, and that's the demos I would do back in the day. This is 2005, I think. And then red meant you're in world space, and blue meant you're in car space, or the other way around, forget. But I'm just keyframing start and end points here. You can see the time and the frame number. And then these edit lists would basically go right into the game, and that's what would be used anytime, let's say you got busted in the game. It would use it would be using these camera cuts that were authored this way. Now, in case of Need for Speed, they weren't actually applied to, they weren't opened up to the audience, sadly, as I wish it would have been. But that would have been a pretty cool thing to do. So this is really early days of kind of real-time filming.
Also in the same build for Most Wanted, you can notice the rain looking strange in this build. This is because it was directly ported over from Need for Speed Underground 2 while not yet properly being ironed out. The Monstrous from Ridge Racer 6 and 7 is the only car across the Ridge Racer series that has a tachometer that reacts to gameplay. In this case specifically, it's nitrous. It's also the only car in the series that has no singular brand attached to it. Also in Ridge Racer 7, the Pac-Man UFO car is different from the one in Ridge Racer 6, as he uses one of the enemy spaceships from Xevious with the tachometer to match. And in the PSP spin-offs and Ridge Racer 3D, he drives aircrafts. In Ridge Racer 1, it's propeller aircraft, in Ridge Racer 2, it's a jet fighter, in 3D, it's another Xevious thing. And speaking of Ridge Racer 3D, the game ditched the unique speedometers for nearly all cars, except the special machines, such as the Angelus, Crenale, Pac-Man, and etc. An extremely rare and special version of Rage Racer was made in collaboration with Nissan to promote their R390 GT1 Le Mans race car, titled Rage Racer R390 GT1 Special, where the player is able to drive the short-tailed variant of the car. It was showcased at some major Japanese motor shows in winter of 1997 and 1998. It is currently unknown if there are any preserved copies of this version. If there aren't any, this might be easily considered lost media. Years before the homebrew port of NFS Hot Pursuit on the PS Vita, there was an official mobile port of another racing game on the much weaker PSP. That game is Ducati Challenge, and while it's normally an average advert game, it has some interesting stuff in the settings menu. There's an option to change the game's graphics, even though all PSPs had the same power besides the 1000s, and the racing HUD is a modified touch control scheme. As for other stuff, it had Habbo Hotel advertisements, and all the tracks are very scuffed versions of real-life tracks, often mixed with other real tracks, and the PSP version never got any updates, so you're stuck with only 6 bikes as opposed to the 9+ Plus in the updated mobile ports. In the first Tokyo Extreme Racer Drift game, when the game was localized to the west, the Honda Integra Type R and the Honda NSX-R were rebadged as Akuras, as the Acura RSX A-Spec and Acura NSX A-Spec respectively. Although Acura did sell the RSX A-Spec as an American equivalent to the Integra Type R, the NSX A-Spec was actually never sold in real life. Since the Chronale lacks any windscreen in the Ridge Racer 7 version, it's speculated that the car uses the same technology like the ADF-01 Falcon from Ace Combat, which is called the Coffin, or Connection for Flight Interface. In TXR3, the Z31-300Z can also get a gun on its hood. Pro Rally 2002 is a rather forgotten and unsuccessful attempt that Ubisoft made to compete in racing/the rally genre. Maybe due to that, a music Easter egg was discovered in the GameCube version of the game after possibly more than 20 years of no mention of it on the internet. When creating driver with the name Casino, the menu music will suddenly change, and so will the racing music as well. Turns out that in the GameCube version, 2 songs from Spanish duo Casino are hidden in the game files. The music will go back to the standard soundtrack when switching to a driver that isn't called Casino. Colin McRae Dirt has multiple different tire compounds, but the player will never know about them as the game automatically chooses a set for each track. However, in an unfinished and non-functional entry in the vehicle setup menu, it exists, along with text and voiceover help options, suggesting at one point Codemasters wanted to let the players choose the tires themselves, as was the case in the previous Colin McRae games. Considering there are no varying conditions for any of the tracks in the game, there was no point keeping this option.
Get the tires right, and you get your driving right, right?
Right. You've got a few things to consider, but that's why the track information in the service area is useful. The weather conditions and track surface will usually tell you what tires you need. What you don't want is a wet tarmac tire when you're about to race on heavy gravel in dry weather conditions.
That will be a nightmare, Christian. And all you have to do is check the track conditions beforehand to avoid stupid mistakes like that.
There are multiple generic voice lines for car previews, car setup options, and the repair menu that aren't normally heard in the game.
Lots of power. Wouldn't mind this one myself. This corners brilliantly. You won't lose speed on gnarly bends and chicanes. This vehicle's got great suspension, a tough little sucker that's good for all rough surfaces. This one's for speed junkies only. It goes fast. The car is in the middle of the class, a steady buy. I'm not familiar with this car, but it might be interesting to check out. I've not driven this baby, but whoa, don't she look purty? Wow, now that's an eye catcher. Does she drive as well as she looks? I don't know. So what do these settings do, Christian?
I think the game manual describes it better than I could.
I'm not ashamed to say it, but I don't know zip about this bit.
I'm going to have to come out and admit it. I don't know about this section, but the game manual will, or the internet is always chock full of info.
This goes over my head. Christian, can you help the player out?
Sorry, I don't have the details. Refer to the game manual. That'll have it.
That looks expensive. Expensive means important, and definitely needs to be repaired if it gets damaged. This goes over my head. Check out the game manual for the details you'll need. I don't know what this does. Hey, I can admit it. I'm the talent, not the technology. Sorry, dude. You better read the game manual for this. That's a bummer. This isn't my area of expertise.
During development, different title names were considered for the game, including even dropping Colin McRae's name in favor of Travis Pastrana. The voice lines are left unused in the game's files.
Welcome to Colin McRae Dirt. This is Dirt, Colin McRae Off-Road. This is Dirt, Travis Pastrana Off-Road. Welcome to Travis Pastrana Dirt.
Today, we all know the game as Colin McRae Dirt, or just Dirt for the US release, but for unknown reasons, the Polish, Czech, and Hungarian releases, which were all handled by CD Projekt, used the Dirt Colin McRae Off-Road title, despite having the voice lines for the final name.
Oto Dirt, Colin McRae Off-Road. Witamy w grze Colin McRae Dirt.
Pro Street for the DS has a rhythm game mode called Hydraulics. In Sega GT 2002/Online, there's a pretty notable exploit for getting a lightning fast start in races if you use the manual transmission. Basically shift up as high as you can go and feather the throttle as close as you can to the red line. Don't hold it down as there's an increased chance the game may force you back to first gear upon start. If you get it right, your car will leap off the line with quite the boost start. Caesar King from the hit video game Zenless Zone Zero has the same voice actors as Tess from NFS Unbound.
I said I give up! You win!
Now that's more like it, old man. If you'd spoken up sooner, we could have saved ourselves the effort.
Another out-of-bounds glitch is in Forza Motorsport 3. On the Silverstone's International Circuit configuration, you can go into the current-day Wellington Straight by just turning off the track at the Priory or Brooklands corners, simply because the barrier blocking the track under the bridge doesn't have any collision. In PGR2 in the showroom, you have an option to go onto a test track by selecting a car to drive. On the first corner, if you stop and look into the river, you might be able to catch a glimpse of a shark fin. This is an Easter egg to Jaws. It is a bit hard to notice because of the lower resolution. On the Nürburgring Nordschleife track, just after the first corner, if you stop and park on the left-hand side near the Nürburgring GP track, you'd be able to hear F1 sounds, a nod to the GP track being on the other side but closed off. In Need for Speed Carbon Own the City for the PSP, it's possible to do a free car glitch in the game, but to do that, you need to go back to the title screen, then hit Quick Play, choose whatever track you want, then choose the car you don't own in career mode, click on stock cars, then click the one you want, then wait until the race starts, back out, quit, and then click save on My NFS. Once you override the save, load it and go click continue. Notice you have the car you wanted, but it's still on your career mode that you don't have unlocked yet. You can upgrade it and all, but once you swap cars, the upgrades will still be there, but you have to buy that car or do the glitch again. On the PS3 version of Colin McRae Dirt, at least in the PAL French version, if you try to access rankings on Time Attack while being offline, it says you have to connect to Xbox Live on a PS3. On the old versions of Test Drive Unlimited 2, you could have earned $1 million per run. In the Cagney update in Burnout Paradise, the Krieger Pioneer received a bass distortion effect to give the illusion of that music is playing from the car's stereo. This only works in the third-person camera. Lego 2K Drive is a Lego spin-off from an iOS game called 2K Drive. In Dakar Desert Rally in the Saudi Arabia map, there's a tribute to Paulo Goncalves, a rider who died in the 2020 Dakar Rally during Stage 8. In Test Drive Unlimited PS2, you can do races that require specific car brands with a rental car. You can also do this with clubs, however you need to own the car to be able to unlock the club in the first place. Simultaneously, by winning the Astaman cities and getting the DB4 Zagato, you can sell it for close to $1 million. To sell a car, simply fill your garage full, buy another car while the garage is full, and the prompt to sell your car will appear, allowing you to sell it. Kaido Battle 2 features a total of 36 cut cars, some of which were supposed to return from previous Genki games or appeared in later games while others never appeared in one, such as Saab and Lancia. In Test Drive Unlimited 2, if you want to get DLC cars in the game, you usually cannot do it in the vanilla game, though there is an oversight in how the game's dealership menus work. If you go to the menu where you can see the list of all the cars in the dealership, go just one car above the DLC car you want, click enter, and as soon as you do, click down once. It will allow you to buy the DLC car instead of the normal car that you had clicked enter on. In Taiwan, the biggest and most unique bundle for Gran Turismo Sport is called the Super Bundle. The bundle itself contains not just a PlayStation 4 Pro and a copy of the game, it also comes with a PlayStation VR, a 12-month PS Plus subscription, 65-inch Sony TV, Thrustmaster TGT steering wheel, an Apiga AP1 chair, and an actual Mazda MX-5. Only one unit was provided. and was presumably purchased by a local car collector, making this an extremely rare bundle in history, similar to Grid 2's Mono Edition, which include the Buck Mono. In Burnout Paradise, there's a car called Krieger Überschall 8, which means Krieger Supersonic 8, in which if you use up all of your boost, the game will play the sound of a sonic boom. It's to my knowledge the only car in Burnout Paradise that has this effect. Night 2 did a pretty good deep dive in how Midnight Club 3's version of fishtailing works. At lower gears, especially the second to last gear, drifting adds speed, while final gear drifting slows you down as expected. So with manual, you can keep the ridiculous drift acceleration under control. In the Ridge Racer series, despite having over 200 cars, there are only 3 vehicles with active aero: the Denver Hijack, the Sold Out Raggio, and the Denver Bayonet. Each activate at a different speed. The Hijack activates at around 200 kilometers an hour, the Raggio at around 240 kilometers an hour, and the Bayonet also at around 200 kilometers an hour. In Extreme G2 for the N64, if you set your name as 2064, all the bikes will be replaced with anti-gravity ships, which is a clear nod in reference to the recently released at the time Wipeout 2097, and they will have proper floaty physics rather than being reskins of the bikes. The R35 GTR was meant to be a Midnight Club LA, but got cut for some reason. It's still usable if you add it through modding the game. In Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010, throughout the map of the game, most noticeably in the gas stations and convenience stores, there are banners advertising the game. It's both in the original and remastered versions. In the early initial D arcade stages, even when the car is not visually upgraded, the Evo 4 RS incorrectly features the GSR's OEM OZ Racing F1 rims instead of the RS Steel rims. Thankfully, when the series got a major overhaul in the 4th game, the car was updated to showcase the RS's correct OEM rims. In Need for Speed High Stakes PS1, the High Stakes mode has an exploit that will let you obtain easy cash at least without using cheats. The requirements are to obtain 2 memory cards, copy the save data with all your current cars to the second memory card, then compete in a race and beat your rival, more often than not yourself, so you can win a copy of one of your cars. Once the secondary memory card garage is empty, sell the acquired cars, then try again by copying the data of the primary memory card into the secondary one. NFS Hot Pursuit has Easter eggs related to the Burnout games. In Mission Beach, you most likely have seen the roller coaster bit at the attraction park. Upon closer inspection, you'll find out that the cars are based on the toy car versions of the Hunter Cavalry and Hunter Citizen from Burnout Paradise. In Kaido Battle 3, Dark Paladin is driving the Gembala Turbo RGT 320, but in the Western releases he drives an ASL Garaya. What's funny is that despite the car change, his dialogue during the daytime PA is unchanged, so in the NTSC U PAL releases, he still talks about his Gembala despite using a Garaya in those versions. You can get access to the Null car in Horizon 4. Just go in free roam, go to Livery Designs, which is located in the Creative Hub tab, and search up Null car for the description. Alex J. Brady, the concept artist behind Battlefield Hardline's cars, also designed the cars in Driftmania 2 Championship, a mobile game. The Eurobeat song Do It Again used for the Lovers Battle in Kaido Battle 2 was actually supposed to appear in TXR 3, as it appears in the trial version of the game. Also in TXR3, in the Nagoya map, specifically the square starter loop, there's a section right in the middle of the loop that's undrivable. Even after you unlock the rest of Nagoya, this stretch of the road also gets marked as unlocked, but it can never be driven on. In TXR2, there's a Ferrari 512 Testarossa hidden in the game files. It's half broken, but it's usable. Sadly, in the final game, the Testarossa lacks any aero parts, but they're present in the Taikenban demo. Trick question: what do the following games have in common? For some reason, they all share the same Evo livery, either used on the Evo 7 or 8. It's a very unusual livery, as it doesn't match the red with silver stripes that was used in WRC and in other games like Dirt 2, but it also doesn't match the Marlboro liveries either, such as the ones used in GT3. That and the livery itself closely resembles the Advan livery that was used in domestic Japanese rallies. In MX vs ATV Unleashed, you gain speed by performing a stoppie and spamming the clutch button. It can be useful for stunt events, so you can spam a bunch of points on land, assuming you have a long enough stretch of land. When Dome initially planned to enter Formula 1 between 1995 to 1997, they made a PS1 game about their only Formula 1 car, the F105. The game released in 1996. It lets you operate the F1 program itself, from choosing the aerodynamic components to how many weaves of carbon you want to put in select areas of the car, all whilst needing to finish the car before the deadline and without spending too much money developing the car in the first place. A sequel was released in 1998, released yet again on the PS1. Sadly, the Dome F1 program was cancelled in autumn 1996 due to lack of sponsorship. They planned to enter again later on, but eventually cancelled plans completely following the announcement of the 1998 F1 technical regulations, making the F105 chassis obsolete. The sole F105 chassis that was built is now stored underneath Dome's wind tunnel, still fitted with the same V10 that they tested the car with. In D1 Professional Drift Grand Prix Series, you can unlock a hidden drift car called the UFO. The method to unlock it is by defeating number of opponents in survival mode, but in the Japanese version you can unlock the Nissan Skyline 25 GT Turbo police car instead of the UFO in the US version. One of the last cars that Carroll Shelby personally worked on was the IRL replica of Jack Rourke's NFS edition of the Ford Shelby GT500 Super Snake to promote Need for Speed The Run. In TDU2, you can jump out of your house and explore both islands by foot. This method is most commonly used in the yachts due to their stairs outside, but you can do this glitch on any house as long as it has any sort of elevation change with no roof on top. All you need to do is enter photo mode from the pause menu while walking around the house, get near any elevation change, and while walking forward, open the photo mode settings menu while letting go of the analog stick. If you did this correctly, you'll see the menu spinning through the settings like it's a casino, and the longer you hold forward, the higher you can go. When you're done holding forward, simply press circle, B, or backspace depending on your controller, and you'll suddenly snap upwards, falling from whichever height you achieved. Now you can walk around the map without despawning, glitching your house LODs, and your character has a hitbox that all the traffic cars can hit, and you can even walk around parts of the house you might not have had access to previously. In the previous Facts and Glitches video, I got a lot of comments asking me what were these liveries and how did I get them to work in Gran Turismo 4. It is quite simple actually. All you need is a tool like Photoshop, GIMP, Inkscape, or Illustrator, whichever you have. First, you need to enable this setting which dumps all the textures that the game has. In the case of Gran Turismo 4, you should have this folder. From there, you just simply find and choose what you want to change. For test demonstrations, I'll just select this random texture from an R34 GTR. You grab the file and drag it into your tool of choice and simply paint over it. Once you are done, you just save it with the exact same name it had in the replacements folder. You don't need to restart your game. PCSX2 has a hotkey that you can assign which refreshes the textures. Once you press that, your textures will work. Don't ask me why Lewis Hamilton is here, because I don't even know why he's here. This can be done for pretty much any PS2 game, resulting in all kinds of creations. For Midnight Club 3, Almighty Pierre has already made a lot of custom liveries which you can download from his Nexus page. I did also showcase some of them in this video here if you want to check that out. Speaking of Midnight Club 3, the Mi 412 and the SL500 are the only cars in the game that have 7 gears. The original Project Gotham Racing has a somewhat unknown exploit that can allow you to go notably faster manual by rapidly shifting the gears back and forth. This works with all cars. In Need for Speed Most Wanted, you can do a boss skip glitch. It's available on any of the PC versions. You click the far right side of the continue button after beating a blacklist member. The game will skip over to the next blacklist member and you get to choose their markers. This will only crash if you do it after beating Bull. Another glitch is the lap glitch. Selecting any circuit or lap knockout races in the quick race menu, then setting lap count to 1 and traffic to none will be transferred to corresponding career races. This glitch can be done on the PC 1.2 version but not on 1.3. Here's everything the speed breaker does in Need for Speed Most Wanted. It increases the front wheel friction by 75%, makes steering respond instantly, raises steering angle to 60 degrees, reduces aero drag by 75%, reduces tire drag by 85%, triples gravity, and stops the NOS from recharging. In Need for Speed Undercover, you gain speed quickly by wiggling your car. Raj was supposed to be the number 16 guy in the blacklist, as mentioned in the pre-release game footage. Completing Prologue implies you've entered the number 16 spot on the blacklist, as mentioned by the parts that get unlocked by completing it. During the career, every blacklist member's set of markers contains a unique Junkman performance part that never varies between save files. However, none of these contain Junkman NOS, rendering it unobtainable in the career. And speaking of the NOS, the game's AI uses COP version of NOS, which is almost infinite and super fast and unavailable to the player. It's used for catching up to the player. Mia's RX-8 had at least 2 versions. You can look at both of those during the cutscene in which you get released from custody. One version has the 5 Zegan Gravis 1 wheels and the other Koenig Blatant wheels. In races that aren't circuits, driving far back enough will hit the reset trigger and restart the race. In the menus, also called front end, the car's reflections are mere flip duplicates of the cars underground. They are visible because the ground is actually transparent. This effect can be best observed via debug cam. In a previous video, I showcased a few out of bounds glitches in Underground 2, but there are plenty more that you can do. In Juiced 1, rain doesn't affect handling. It's just a visual effect. You get the exact same performance in the wet compared to the dry. Adding an aftermarket spoiler to your car gives you a downforce boost, which is pretty crucial for controlling rear-wheel drive cars. Some cars which come with a spoiler by default have the option to have their spoiler removed, which hilariously also gives you the downforce boost since it's coded as an aftermarket spoiler option. Basically, anything other than the stock option gives you the bonus downforce. This one is really well known, but once a lot of the crew leaders have over 600 respect with you, you start getting phone calls really often asking you to do pink slips. The intention is either you accept and put your car on the line, or decline and lose respect. But due to an oversight, you can leave the race on the grid screen and not lose your respect or your car.
Hey bro, you better like this. Respect.
In Juiced 1, there's a watch yourself glitch that you can do. First, you go to a race and bet with anyone, prompting an autosave and then close the game. When you reload the game, the event on the present day on the calendar will be the race you just started before closing the game. This time, choose to watch the event and you'll be able to bet on yourself as if you're a spectator. You'll also notice you're driving a different car to what you chose the first time. The game selects the oldest car in your garage when doing this, meaning this is a very convoluted way to bring cars which break event restrictions into races. When you start the event, you'll still have control of your car, but you'll also have the spectator controls enabled, which means you can race from a second-person perspective if you want to. Aside from that, the race will play out like normal. This does mean you can place massive spectator bets on yourself and then win the race, which eliminates the normal randomness of betting on the AI and hoping they win. You could even bet on one of your opponents in the race if they have better odds and then use your car as a roadblock to make sure they win for even more money. Also worth noting, all of this only works on the original 1.0 EXE of the game. If you attempt to do this on the 1.1 EXE, the game freezes when you go to watch the event after restarting the game. The only requirement for having new cars appear in the dealership is the amount of events you've participated in, but as long as you make it to the grid screen of an event with the rotating cars in the menu, that counts as you having participated in the race. This means you can enter Urban Mauler's events, which are free, get to that point in the menus, and then quit. You don't even lose respect with any of the crew leaders because the race never properly started. You unlock a few new cars every 3 events until you're 35th, where you will have unlocked everything. So if you have the patience to do this in the menus 35 times at the beginning of a playthrough, you can have every car available to buy from the get-go and break the progression. In Namco's MotoGP 4, you could drive the actual pace car from the MotoGP Championship. This feature was reinserted in the Milestone MotoGP games, to be specific in MotoGP 14. Oddly enough, both games feature nearly identical physics to the actual bikes in the games. The wheelie bars in Midnight Club 3 aren't just for show. They do reduce the amount of time your front wheels spend time in the air after a burnout. Some NPC opponents have vinyls. The reason they're not visible is due to opponents using a lower quality variant of their vehicles. Rockstar got creative with their NPC customization. Check out the license plates on these two. There's a file called escaladedude01.txt in the textures folder of the game. Upon converting it to a readable format, this is how it looks. This image hasn't been found in the game and we're confident it's not used. Could it be a cut character? For more interesting facts regarding Midnight Club 3, I'd suggest checking out Almighty Pierce's channel. And that's about it for today. Thank you to everyone who submitted a fact or a glitch for this episode, and if you enjoyed it and want to see more of these videos, drop a like and a sub to the channel. If you have any facts of your own that you want to share for a future episode, feel free to post it in my comments or in my Discord server in the Facts and Glitches channel. And I'll see you in the next video.